Guys, we got our official bets and prediction for UFC 309, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. And guys, I'm looking to hit this fight card out of the park. I'm looking to go undefeated in this fight card. If you guys haven't been looking at my past bets and prediction videos, we've been hot as fish grease. And guys, we're going to go ahead and keep that streak alive as my go ahead and prevails against Stipe Miocic. Now, guys, I'm not going to waste any time. Like the video, subscribe, baby. And my official ticket will get posted on Friday, or more than likely Saturday, the day of the fight of Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic. So guys, stay tuned for it. I will be putting my money where my mouth is. I'm not like your favorite YouTuber. I will be putting my money where my mouth is. We will be starting from the prelims and working our way up all the way to the main event. You already know the drill. I don't gotta tell you. Without further ado, like the video, subscribe. Like I said, road to 500 subs. Let's go ahead and start off with the first fight, and that is Veronica Macedo versus Eduarda Moura. Now, guys, man, and I don't know much about these two girls. I'm going to go ahead and start off with that right here. Now, if there is a fight that I might lose for this fight card right here, it might be this, because I don't have much data on these two girls. But one thing that I like in a female fighter that I can always go ahead and put my money on and I can always bank on is a female fighter that is constantly going into decision. Now, guys, there's no female that I can look at that has that true knockout power in any woman's division. So if a girl is constantly going to decision, it's a girl that I can always bet on, because she will always give herself at least that chance to go ahead and win the fight. So guys, gun in my head, if I'm be honest with you guys, I'm taking Veronica. This was a hard look for me to see for my official bets and prediction. But I'm taking Veronica for the win. She is the favorite going into this fight. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. I got Veronica. Next fight up, we have Bassil Hafez versus Oban Elliot, the Welsh gangster. Now, guys, the Welsh gangster and Oban Elliot, he came off Cage Warriors looking absolutely disgusting, coming into the UFC, and he's been cash money. As you guys can see, within his last 5 fights, this dude has been nothing but green light. Nothing but green light. But on the other side of town, you have Bassil Hafez that got into a war with mcghee, and he lost his last fight before mcghee against Jack Della Mena. But guys, one thing you can always know about Bassil Hafez is that he's always going to bring that grit. He's always going to bring that toughness. He's always going to bring that hustle into a fight. Now, granted, the techniques on how he might do things might not look as clean. He is a very balanced fighter. If you can think of a very balanced fighter that his stat sheets is everything is like a 70 overall, that will be Bassil Hafez. So it's one of those things where the only way Bassil Hafez could win this fight is if Oban Elliot loses his fight and like literally kills himself out of the fight. That's the only way I can see the Welsh gangster losing this. All in all, I think the Welsh gangster is head and shoulders better than Bassil Hafez. And this is a fight that he should be able to win. We got the young fighter and 26-year-old going against the 32-year-old prospect. I'm going with the young guy, the Welsh gangster, Oban Elliot. Sweet and simple. All right. Next fight up, we have mcghee versus Ramirez Barishmaj. Now, guys, man, if you guys can see, both these dudes are coming off a loss. mcghee on his end, he is coming off a 3-fight losing streak, so he definitely needs a win on his next fight right here, or things get real ugly in his contract with the UFC. So this is a must-win situation, in my opinion, for mcghee. And he's been around in the UFC for a long time. Since CM Punk days, he's been around in the UFC. On the other hand, you have Ramirez Barishmaj. This dude right here, he likes to push the fight with his boxing. His wrestling isn't too bad, too. He has that American style of wrestling. But one thing that I noticed, which is kind of weird in his resume, but is one thing that I'm starting to notice a little bit. He is a win one, lose one type of dude. And every fight that he has won, he's won it via submission. Literally. Even though he won this fight, he won it by submission. Next fight, he lost. Next fight after that, he won it by submission. Right after that, he lost to Court McGee, which is absolutely crazy. How do you lose to Court McGee? This is the only way you can think how mcghee should be able to win this fight. Like, you lose to Court McGee, which is ridiculous. But another story for another day. And then he wins his next fight after that by submission. Then he loses his next fight after that by decision. So guys, I feel like he's due for one of these submission moments, and a submission could be put on his resume, and that could be his path to victory. That's the only way I can see that Ramirez is going to win this fight. Granted, his boxing is good and his wrestling is good. I just don't see Mickey Gall being able to stop his wrestling. And for a good underdog value, I will be taking Ramirez in this spot right here. Mickey Gall, granted, he did look good in his last fight, but I don't care. I don't care. It resulted into a loss. It wasn't enough, and I don't think he's going to show enough in his next fight, and I think it's going to result to another loss. All right, next fight up, we have Marcin Tybura versus Jhontana Diniz, and guys, I will be taking Jhontana Diniz winning this fight. Both these two dudes, their last fight was 95 days ago, and Jhontana Diniz, in my opinion, looked good in his last fight. He did win by decision, and before that, his last two fights, he is winning by KO TKO. On the other end, you have Marcin Tybura. A lot of these fights are ending in the first round. He lost to Tom Aspinall, beat Tai Tuivasa, and lost to Sergey Spivak. In this situation right here, both these two dudes have both the same exact rest advantage. I'm going to take the younger fighter in this situation right here. I'm going to take the 33-year-old beating the 39-year-old for underdog value. Granted, Marcin Tybura is a tough night out, and I understand he is a tough night out. He will put on a fight, especially in that first round. Things could get ugly, but I'm looking at the fight if it's able to go to that second or third round. And in my opinion, Marcin Tybura hasn't seen the second round in his last three fights, so I can trust Jhontana Diniz going into the later rounds. If it's a first round knockout from Marcin Tybura, then I'll live with the facts. But I don't think that will be the case in this situation right here. I'm not expecting a 39-year-old to go ahead and knock out Jhontana Diniz. I believe this will be a fight that's going 3 rounds. Or I just have Jhontana Diniz winning this fight all around, guys. That's just me being honest, me keeping it simple. Next fight up, we have Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson. And guys, I was very much back and forth in this fight right here, man. I'm obviously saying that Damon Jackson should be able to win this. But guys, it's just one of those moments where I know the entire public is rooting for Damon Jackson to win this. Everybody is saying Damon Jackson should be able to win this. But guys, if I'm gonna be honest with you, I gotta take the savvy vet Jim Miller at plus 145. I think the line says it all. Damon Jackson is just a little bit better than Jim Miller, but going into those later rounds, I think the veteran will be able to prevail just a little bit better than Damon Jackson. Granted, I do think this will be a close fight, but all in all, I'm not gonna overcomplicate it. I have Jim Miller winning this fight, guys, for plus 145, and we are going heavy with the underdogs in this fight card, guys. So just lock in with your boy. But I have Jim Miller winning this on the money line. All right, next fight up, we have Chris Weidman versus Eryk Anders. And guys, who is the favorite going into this fight? Oh, Chris Weidman is the underdog. Eryk Anders is the favorite going into this fight. And guys, if you guys didn't look at Chris Weidman's last fight, he looked pretty good. He won it in pretty good fashion. But there's one thing about it. He won it against Bruno Silva. And guys, if you didn't know much about Bruno Silva, right now, Bruno Silva is going through a lot right now, especially in his mental. I don't know if there's anything going on with his family, or hopefully not, but I know there's a lot going through with his mental right now. And he is going through a lot of mental health issues, especially losing a lot of his fights. And yeah, it's messing up his brain. So Chris Weidman beating messed up head Bruno Silva. I'm not putting too much stock on it. So in my opinion, this is a 3-fight loser streak. In my opinion, you guys can look at it as a win, but I'm looking at it as a 3-fight loser streak. On the other hand, you have Eryk Anders coming off a win against Jamie Pickett, and I'll count that as a win. Guys, I'm not going to overcomplicate it. I'm going with the guy that's riding on the high. Chris Weidman, he's done everything he needs to do in the UFC, right, and at this point of his career. Dude is living good. You go ahead and look at the house he's living in. Look at the cars he's driving. Dude is living good. He's not training every day. He's not living night in and night out in that gym. I'm going to take my boy Eryk Anders winning this fight. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. Keep it simple. Next fight up, we have Marcus McGhee versus Jonathan Martinez. And guys, this is one of the more tougher fights to bet on. But I'm not going to overcomplicate it. I think Jonathan Martinez wins it. This is another underdog that I'm saying is going to win it. But if you guys go ahead and look at Jonathan Martinez's resume, man, the dude has been absolutely cash money. He's beaten Saeed Nurmagomedov. Granted, that loss to Jose Aldo, I'm not gonna go ahead and put too much stock on that, even though it was a crazy loss. Granted, he's fighting the great Jose Aldo, and he's fighting Jose Aldo in Brazil at altitude. That's a loss that most people can't handle that. You know what I'm saying? It's not a lot of people not are able to handle it. And Jose Aldo is absolutely furious with his boxing. It's like his boxing is raised up another level as he's gotten older. Marcus McGhee, on the other hand, this dude right here, he's a tough night out. As you can see, he's been nothing but green bean in these spots. He's been nothing but been cashing out. And at this spot, I can see why people are saying Marcus McGhee should be able to win. But I'm gonna go with my boy Jonathan Martinez. Those leg kicks that he have will be the true answer on how he will be able to win this fight. I think he will be able to be improve a little bit better on his leg kicks going into this fight right here. If Marcus McGhee can stop the leg kicks, he is stopping a big game plan from Jonathan Martinez, and that is something Marcus McGhee is for sure training for. That's something that he's for sure is going to be on point for. But at the big stage, Jonathan Martinez has seen the big stage already, especially going against Jose Aldo. I think he does it again, and I think he beats Court McGee in this spot right here. I have my boy Jonathan Martinez winning this fight. Next fight up, we have Mauricio Ruffy versus James Llontop. And guys, I'm not going to overcomplicate it at all. I have Ruffy winning this fight. Ruffy is just better than Llontop in every facet of MMA you could possibly think of. There's no reason to complicate it. There's no reason for me to give you a more of an explanation than what I just said. Ruffy is just that much better than Llontop, and Ruffy should be able to beat Llontop in the first round. These are one of those fights where you want to bet who wins the fight, and you want to bet what round, and how does the fighter wins the fight. We all know Ruffy is going to win this fight, but if I had to guess, first round, KO. Alright, next fight up on the card, we have viviane Araujo versus Karine Silva. And guys, I feel like this is a 50-50 fight right here. I know the money is going heavy towards Karine Silva's way, because if you guys go ahead and look at her side of town, she's been absolutely cash money. Win her fights in the second and the first round via submission, one fight going to decision. And you guys go ahead and look at viviane Araujo's way. I mean, granted, she's only had like 2 good fights where she's looked like world class. But I mean, you guys go ahead and look at her last 4 fights. She's fighting Natalia Cristina da Silva, which is a tough night out. Jennifer Maia, she won that fight. Amanda Ribas, which is another tough night out, a Brazilian. And Alexa Grasso, a tough night out, the former champ. Now, she is constantly getting fed Brazilians, and she is in another spot where she is getting fed a Brazilian. And guys, I feel like this is a win one, lose one situation for her, and I feel like viviane Araujo can win this fight. Granted, would I be putting money on this? I don't know if I want to put my money where my mouth is. If I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This is tough because the last time viviane Araujo has looked good has been like what? Her debut at the UFC. Maybe another fight after that, but she hasn't really looked all that crazy in her last couple fights. So betting at plus 200, you know, it's a real big risk. But I feel like she has a spot, and she has a spot to win this fight, guys. Call me crazy, but this has been an underdog moment in this fight card right here. I'm taking a lot of underdogs in this fight, and this will be a profitable fight card if this is the case, because guys, I really like the picks that I'm saying right now. Debate it with me if you want, but I have my girl viviane Araujo winning this fight. Right up, we have Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig, and guys, I'm not gonna even overcomplicate anything. I have Bo Nickal winning this. Donald Trump should be in the house. First day back as president, he talked about wanting to see Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal's training with American Top Team. So his striking should be improved. Everything. I think Bo Nickal is ready for this moment. Granted, Paul Craig has a place to where he can go ahead and get that lucky submission off Bo Nickal, but I don't think that's gonna be the case. I think Paul Craig gets beat badly by Bo Nickal. I have Bo Nickal taking this by decision. I don't think he finishes Paul Craig. I think this goes to decision, and yeah, I'm not gonna overcomplicate it. All right, next fight up, we have Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler, and guys, I will be taking Charles Oliveira. It seems like Charles Oliveira, his kryptonite is the Russians. Besides the Russian, Charles Oliveira can wipe through anybody in his division, and Michael Chandler, in my opinion, is just another obstacle in his way to go ahead and get back to the belt. Charles Oliveira, granted, he is going to be able to not be able, but he is going to take a couple shots from Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler's been training for Conor McGregor, so one thing he is for sure doing in that training camp that he was doing for Conor McGregor is that he was working on his striking. His grappling, his submission game is another story. But one thing I know he was for sure working on is his striking to make it an exciting fight between him and Conor McGregor. He is going to bring some of that game plan against Charles Oliveira, so he has an avenue of knocking out Charles Oliveira. But in this situation right here, in this style spot right here, I'm going to take the fighter. I'm going to take the absolute dog in Charles Oliveira. And I think Charles Oliveira is going to go ahead and cash in some money. Last but not least, guys, I'm not going to overcomplicate the main event at all. I got my boy Jon Jones winning this. And I have him winning this by bloodbath. If I had really had to go ahead and make a true prediction, I have Jon Jones winning this by the 4th round, maybe 5th round. And Stipe Miocic will lose this by doctor stoppage. Jon Jones is looking to kill. He is looking to hunt. And I believe this will be the case. Stipe Miocic hasn't fought in forever. On the other hand, you have Jon Jones, which he looked good against Cyril Gane. And I think Jon Jones is going to ride that high again. And he's going to bring that same anger and furiosity against Stipe Miocic. And I have Jon Jones winning this fight within the 4th or the 5th round. Not going to overcomplicate it at all. Main event is going to Jon Jones. And he is calling out Alex Pereira for his next fight. Just saying. All in all, guys, I don't need to tell you. You already know what to do. Like the video, subscribe. It's your boy Fetty Too Sweaty with Fetty MMA. I keep saying Too Sweaty. If you guys are an OG to the channel, then you know why I keep saying that. But it's your boy Fetty MMA. If you made it this far in the video, like the video, subscribe. I'm out.